Ladies and gentlemen, we are so back. This is the It's So Over podcast. My name is Zach Stauffer, and today I have
Tanner Egbert.
Tanner, dude. Tanner has been, how long have we been friends, man? Like, since 2023? Like, January 2023.
Almost 2022. So it's been 3.5 years, basically.
Dude, it's been so long, but Tanner is a really good friend of mine. We've known each other for a while. I'm happy to have you here. Tanner also, for those of you who don't know, is now kind of like my editor because as I've been complaining and posting about, I have had so many technical difficulties and Tanner's really good with all this stuff. So the quality should be infinitely better because Tanner's amazing and he's agreed to help me with this all. Um, but yeah, if you want to kind of just like say a little bit about yourself, what you do, and introduce yourself, I guess.
Yeah. So like Zach said, we've been friends for 3 years, almost 3.5 years. Um, I met him in Rexburg when he was living there, and wow, what a difference
Oh my gosh.
3 years can make.
Yeah, seriously.
Um, and I've done a lot of photography, videography, video editing, been a creative director. That's pretty much everything about me. I just got married back in July. Happily married.
He left us.
I didn't leave you.
He left us.
I didn't leave you. Just I just have to distance myself a little bit.
Yeah, you have a wife. It's valid.
I can't live with you anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I actually want to share the story of how like we started becoming friends because I think it's like it's so cool kind of looking back on it.
It's poetic.
It is. It really is. Okay, so as Tanner said, we met in Rexburg. He and I used to kind of work in like the party business, I guess. Events,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and yeah, not like party, like events and stuff like that. And there was this event going on in Rexburg, and he came and visited with a bunch of people, and I kind of met him, and we didn't talk at all. I think we exchanged like 2 or 3 words, and we met in Rexburg a couple months fast forward, and I end up moving to Utah. And it was like one of those, like, I just threw a dart. I went on Facebook Marketplace. I bought the first contract that I could find at the first apartment complex that looked affordable and cool and was in Provo. And I ended up going to Alpine Village. And so Tanner and I had met. We didn't talk, we didn't text, we didn't have each other added on any social media. We just had like that one interaction. I go to church that Sunday by myself. I'm like, I think I was blessing the sacrament.
Yeah, you were.
I was blessing the sacrament, and this man walks in to my ward with like he had this pimp coat he used to wear. It was the funniest little church get up ever. But he walks in, we look at each other, and we hit the Spider-Man meme. It's like, I know you. He points at me, and I'm like, wait, hold up. And then after that, we found out that we lived 2 doors down from each other on like the 6th floor of some random apartment complex in Provo. And something also about me that kind of just like tied it all together is I have this angel number. If you couldn't tell by all the 24 things that I've jibbed over time, 24 is like my angel number. Yeah, it's like it's always like good luck, good things. Sometimes it's how God talks to me. There's like a 24 on his license plate. And I feel like all of that just tied together. In my mind, I'm like, okay, Tanner and I were supposed to meet. It's just too coincidental. It's too awesome of a story. And Tanner and I have so much freaking lore and craziness that if I had bought any other contract, wouldn't have been possible. So I just felt like sharing that because it's so cool. It's so cool sometimes how like I feel like things are meant to happen, you know?
Yeah. I mean, dude, like we both like came together as friends. Like like we were one way, and like through the years, like we've both changed together.
Yep.
And become like completely different, like better people, significantly better.
Yeah. Some of the stuff we were getting into when we first met, dude, oh my gosh, there's different people entirely for sure.
Yeah.
I had an ex that I was not over, and that was a whole chapter of my life.
Yeah, that's true. We got you through that together.
And then I got you through some of your relationship struggles.
Yeah.
And then he outgrew me because he got married.
I didn't outgrow you.
Yeah, I'm just joking. But no, it's just awesome, you know. I I'm happy to have you here, man. I feel like this is gonna be a good episode. I have some awesome questions in store. You know, I say this every episode but for those of you who may be tuning in for the first time, the premise of this podcast is I try to have as many people on as I can because I feel like we all have unique life experiences and stories that, you know, shape us, make us who we are. And you never know what sharing some of your learned wisdom or experience or 2 cents on something can do for someone else. So I have Tanner here. I got some questions for him, and I'll give him the opportunity to share a little bit of his thoughts, his perspective on things, but also give y'all the opportunity to maybe learn a thing or two from him. So, with that being said, you ready for the first question?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. First question. I don't feel like this is too crazy. What is a big life philosophy that you have?
That is actually a difficult question. Um, because I feel like like what I've been living by kind of has changed like as I've changed. Um, I think I kind of live by like three core virtues.
Okay.
And I think that's really important that everybody find like what's like the most important um like virtue or like value to you. Um so I try to live for freedom. I think freedom is like fundamental to being human. Like we were given our agency to be given our freedom to like learn and grow rather than like being controlled or kind of being put in a box. So freedom is huge to me. Integrity is my second core value. Um, I think it's more than just like being honest. It's being like authentic to who you are, which is actually like my third one is authenticity. Because if you're not yourself, you can't even like yourself, right? Like if you're not being true to who you are, how could you ever like yourself?
No, I think those are awesome. I really like the authenticity one as well because I feel like in our friendship too, like you and I have never been anything other than ourselves.
That is very true.
Like, you know, that's I think that is definitely one thing that I've seen at least in our friendship. Like Tanner for sure has never at any point in his life been someone that he isn't, you know? I think that that's been an awesome part about our friendship and how we've kind of like grown together is we've always been ourselves, and as we both kind of have grown, I feel like we both have kind of been like, okay, we're a little bit less stupid now, but now we're more responsible, or you know,
Yeah.
we kind of there's been a lot of give and take. So it was authenticity, integrity, and freedom.
Freedom. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love the agency part too with freedom because I think that freedom isn't always like it might seem like a really broad term, but I think like freedom too, in my mind at least when you said that, I kind of thought of like I want to do something really creative with my life. I mean, I'm doing a podcast, I've written a book. I'm hopefully going to be doing some, you know, coaching here soon, but like that to me is like freedom is, you know, I'm not tying myself down in a certain way. And that isn't to say like if you have a 9 to 5 or if you have like a corporate job, a really structured job that you're not free. I think like freedom is definitely different from person to person, but I like that that's one of your values and integrity, dude. You know, I mean, who are you? Like, I think who are you without your word being your law?
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I say I'm going to do something or if I say I am something, then there needs to be weight to that. There needs to be, you know, it needs to be true. Because
Yes.
when, if what I say isn't what I do, then you just become a whole lot credible as a person, a whole lot less credible as a
Yes.
person. So I loved all that, dude. That didn't seem like a difficult question at all for you. I feel like that was a great answer.
Well, I mean, it's something that I've thought about a lot, so it's easy for me to answer that. But like that's something that's like developed. It's not something that I've had like my whole life because I've kind of lived by different like life philosophies. Freedom has been one that's been like really big throughout my life. I hate being put in a box. Like I cannot stand when people put me in a box. They label me because I don't fit into a box. Like I'm my own unique person. Every person on this planet is their own unique person. Like I'm not just like somebody else. I have different like values, strengths, weaknesses that nobody else has. Um, So that's something that like it's pushed me in bad ways and it's pushed me in good ways. I think you can be free in a way that's not healthy and not like positive for you for your life. Um, but you can also take like the freedom that you have and really, really just like expound on it because when you have like when you're taking freedom in a positive way, um, like suddenly you kind of have more freedom than you do if you're using your freedom and agency in a negative way. So
Yeah, dude, that's fire. I liked what you said too about like, how other people have put you in a box. I think us too, like I think freedom also is like letting other people kind of be who they're supposed to be. Following
yes,
off of like your third point of just being your authentic self. Like I think that part of freedom is also like, and I think that's one of the reasons why our friendship has kind of lasted over time is
that is true.
we've definitely allowed each other the freedom to be who we are, but also kind of like still be like, hey, call me out when I'm being an idiot, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
Tanner and I, something that's like not like bad about Tanner and I's friendship is we definitely have had our struggles.
Yeah.
And I think that is one part of a healthy friendship, relationship, whatever it is. Nothing's going to be perfect. Tanner and I have definitely had moments where we've been like, oh, what he's doing right now is pissing me off.
I mean, like the closest relationships are the ones that have like the ups and downs.
Exactly.
You can't build a strong like foundation in relationship without dealing with the negative things
Mhm.
because eventually like after you spend a lot of time with somebody they will start pissing you off.
It's
It's just the
natural.
way it works. Like you're different people, but it's really important that you like communicate what pisses you off and then also like figure out how you can work around it, whether it's just like realizing it's not actually a big deal or you work together to like this is a problem that needs to be fixed, let's find a way to like deal with it together because so many times in relationships like you'll hear it, you're like butting heads, you're fighting, like it's you versus the other person, but like relationships shouldn't be like that. You should be working together.
Yep.
Yeah.
You versus the problem. It's the both of you versus the problem, not you versus each other. I
Yes.
love that. I'm huge on that. I think also as well, just like kind of with our friendship too, like, we've given each other the freedom to make mistakes as well. Like I feel like we've been very forgiving with
Yeah.
each other. We've done some stupid stuff, but again, like that's just I think that's just a really good staple of just like friendships, relationships, kind of like you've been saying. Like we've kind of understood like, hey, like it's less me just being evil and mean towards you and more just like me struggling in my own life and it being a projection of that. I'm very big on the way people treat you, and this just extends past like our friendship. The way people treat you is usually an extension of where they're at in their personal life.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, like if I'm really struggling in my life, odds are I'm probably not going to be the best friend to you right now.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely is where you've definitely held me in line and been like, hey, you're not being a good friend right now. And I've had some moments too where I've done the same for you, but it's again, I just the big thing of freedom is like I've never put you in a box to say you have to be something specific to me.
Yeah.
We've been friends. That's the only box that if you even want to say that's a box, we've
Yeah.
been very free to be like, hey, like you are going to be whoever you are. I'm going to be whoever I am. And we kind of just have been going along this like together in a way. Like,
Yes. I accept you as you are, but I see where you can be better and let's get there together.
yep.
That's like that has to be how relationships work or else they're going to end. Cuz if you like are both headed kind of like down a bad path, truthfully, you will end up like ending that relationship.
Mhm.
Whether it's like a romantic relationship, a friendship, like family relationship, all those things like you have to be working together to go in like a positive direction um, rather than like going negative. And when you do start like kind of like reverting and going in a negative direction, you have to recognize that and turn it around. Whether that's through like therapy, actually like communicating more, which is usually those kind of go hand in hand. But yeah,
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I'm something that kind of opening up a little bit, like something that I've definitely struggled with in my life is, I've had some friendships that have kind of faded and I've had to like let go of. And it's really hard because you never want to let go of people,
yeah,
but sometimes, life has its, you cross paths and then you kind of just separate. And it's really hard because you know like you can communicate your needs, you can you know call out certain behaviors, you can ask certain things of other people, but you know like at the end of the day, like I think that some friendships definitely like some are meant to last
Yes.
and some may not last, but it is a choice.
Yes.
You know, like I think like if the reality is if we didn't consistently forgive and work with each other, we wouldn't be here right now.
That is true.
We would have split when I went back to Rexburg, but
Yeah.
you know, I think that's just like this whole little bit right here is one of the most important things about friendships, relationships, romantic, platonic, whatever it is. Like it's it takes work on both sides. It takes accepting each other, but also holding each other to a standard of saying, "Hey, like I know where you can be, and I know if you're not there, I want you to be there." It's
Yes.
wanting that for each other. It's not just you know, oh, we're just going to be in each other's lives until all of a sudden you don't benefit me anymore, and then I'm going to stop talking to you.
Yes.
Which is exactly why I had to cut out a lot of people in my life recently. It kind of feels like some friendships I've had have definitely been transactional, where it's
Yeah.
been like, oh, like I will only talk to you when I need something from you, or oh, like I will only have you in my life when I have something to gain from you.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the kind of friendships that I've learned. I'm like, no, like I don't want you around. Like
Yeah.
you've been my friend when I've had nothing to give. Like when we first met, like we were both kind of going through it in our own ways, and I think we were definitely meant to meet. But dude, I had like as far as a friendship standpoint, I had nothing to offer. But you know, Tanner and I have remained such good friends because like he accepted me where I was, and he's like, hey, like I don't need to benefit from you being my friend. We can just be friends. I think, you know, I guess this whole little bit of this episode is just talking about like real genuine friendships, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like we have one. Has it been perfect? Absolutely not. No.
No.
But we're still here 3.5 or so, almost 4 years down. Like we're still good friends and we still work on things. And I think that, you know, that is the hallmark of lasting friendships. But, you know, there also is that reality of if Tanner wasn't, you know, putting in the same effort that I do, we wouldn't be here, you
Yeah.
know? It goes both ways.
Absolutely.
Friendships are a fun thing to navigate. I'm glad that we kind of talked about that. I feel like that'll be good for hopefully people to kind of hear and listen because I know I have struggled so much with
Yeah.
friendships, bro. You ready for this next question
Yeah.
though?
I'm ready.
I feel like this one kind of relates, but it's also a really interesting question. I'm interested to hear what you think. Do you think people are born with self awareness or is it something you learn?
We were kind of talking about this earlier. Um, I that is a tough question. I think that's a like nature versus nurture question essentially. I think that one's nurture.
Okay.
Um, I think the things that you go through in your life kind of help you to become like emotionally intelligent. I don't think anybody's born with emotional intelligence. Like you can look around, look at, some of the people you interact with like in your day-to-day life and you can be like, you know, maybe the things you've been through like haven't necessarily given you that emotional intelligence. Um, and it's a choice. Like you have to be like actively aware of, you know, your own thoughts, your actions, how they impact other people. And there's not many people that are like I feel like we're headed towards a direction, especially in our society, where a lot of people are very like focused on themselves, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's a time and a season for everything, right? Like it's good to be focused on yourself sometimes, but I think our society as a whole is kind of headed in that direction, and that actually takes away from being emotionally aware and intelligent, um, and just being aware of other people. You can't be like a selfless person, like thinking about other people and only be aware of yourself, your own thoughts, your own actions, and how they benefit you. I don't know. It's hard because truthfully, it feels like you look around every day and there are good people and there are people like everywhere that are good. But it's also hard to find people that you can connect with if you are like kind of emotionally aware and intelligent. Because it's hard to want to be friends with people that aren't.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
because not that it's like those are kind of like the transactional friendships where, you know, it's beneficial for both people in one way or another, and that's like why they're friends rather than like the connection that they've built. Because that's, I mean, that's my benefit with you. Like, we have a connection. I can talk to you about anything. Like, I've been able to like go through all the hard things with you, all the like awesome fun things with you, and that's like what our friendship is about. It's not like what you give to me or like what I can get out of you. Um, I don't know. Yeah.
No,
What are your thoughts?
I love all that. I think I loved what you had to say about like nature versus nurture. I think that emotional intelligence or self-awareness, like I think you can be born with a higher capacity for it. Like I'm a very emotional guy, as we know. And I think that like in some ways I definitely have like a more natural ability, I feel like, to just like feel and empathize and stuff like that. But it's definitely more learned. It's more taught. Like I think it is a conscious choice to be aware not just of like your own emotions and your own self, but others as well. I
Yeah.
think empathy, when you have empathy, I think that is really like the cornerstone of emotional intelligence and self-awareness, you know, because I think when you empathize with other people and you give grace to them in like their lives and your own, it helps build that emotional maturity. Because I know that, you know, some people are definitely, you're like, man, like this person's just stupid. Or like, oh man, they're like a rock, you know? It's like
Yeah.
there's no like, where's the substance? Where's the depth? I think we all have a capacity to be, you know, self-aware and emotionally intelligent. But, you know, just like with how I may be terrible at math but good at writing, I think you can have a natural gravitation or ability more so than other people, but I think it's still something that everyone can learn. Like Tanner
Yes.
can play the guitar really well. I cannot. But if I really sat down and tried to play the guitar, I could learn to be just as good, if not better than Tanner. Granted, it would take so much more
Yes.
than him because he's naturally good at it. He's also put in the work.
I, years. Yeah.
Yeah, but you get what the point again. The point that I'm trying to
But
make
you
is I
can
think
get
that
there.
like it's something you can develop.
Yeah.
And I think that it is something I would encourage everyone to develop because I think kind of where I started with empathy being the cornerstone of it. I think your life is just better lived, you know, not just when you like I think like self-awareness is like, you know, it's self. It's very in a way me focused,
Okay.
but I think self-awareness does bleed into your other parts of your life where it's like, hey, like me being self-aware of how my actions can impact other people, you know, it isn't just about me anymore. It's like,
Yes.
okay, my struggles, my issues are my problems, but I have to be in tune with myself so that it's not then everyone's problem.
Yeah. Honestly, I think self awareness has nothing to do with like yourself and everything to do with other people. Like, it's not about you. It's about how you're affecting other people. And like, if you're an NPC, like, you can change that. You just make the choice, and you're like, you know, I want to think about other people more. Find a way to serve other people. You know, like for me and Zach, like a way that I feel like I can serve people, going to the temple. Um, that takes me outside of myself and kind of puts me into a mindset of like how I can help other people, because that's pretty much what the entirety of like the temple is about. Everything is about helping other people, um, after you've helped yourself. And I think that's important. Once you've taken care of yourself, you're able to take care of people better.
Absolutely. I think it's like, you know, developing like Christ-like attributes too. It's like turning outward. You know, that is one of like my favorite things in all the stories of Christ. It's I think there's a bunch of church talks. For those of you who don't know, we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a very important detail to note because we
Yes.
definitely reference it a lot. I just say that for those of you who are like, what are they talking
You can
about?
also just say we're in Utah.
Yeah, we are. I am based in Utah. That's where we are currently. If you were to look out the window, the mountains are very pretty. But yeah, with our faith, with, you know, trying to be trying to be like Jesus, I think there's this turning outward that is so consistent in his life. It's like no matter what he's gone through, no matter what he's undergone, there's always like, I mean, when he's on the cross, like, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. Things like that. I always try to emulate that, like that turning outward and serving others. And I think, we had general conference this weekend, and I think that there are a couple amazing talks that, because it was Easter Sunday, that were all about, being like Christ and developing those Christ like attributes. And I think that does play with self awareness. I love that you said self awareness has almost nothing to do with you. I think it is turning outward. I think it is understanding, that our lives are so much bigger than ourselves. I had a really big realization on my mission, not to be that guy, on my mission story. No, but my mission president, I was really struggling one time, and he sat me down, and he, in essence, this is very much summarized. He didn't say this word for word. I want to make it clear. He basically called me a selfish piece of crap. He literally, like, it was one of the most humbling conversations I had had, because when I was 18, the world revolved around me. Everything was me, 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 me. I'm gonna baptize people. How this mission is gonna help me. I was very. I think we're all naturally selfish. The natural man,
Especially when we're 18.
Oh,
At least
100%.
18-year-old guys. you, if you are 18 years old and you're actually emotionally intelligent, like,
You're
and
different,
aware of other people, you are truly just built different.
and you are ahead in life. Let me tell you that as
Yes.
well. But the point that I was making is when I was telling him about all these struggles I was having, he kind of just sat there and he's like, "You are turning inward in your struggles. You are not like you're being too like you're not self-aware because you're only thinking of yourself." Like when I was out on the mission, he's like, "Dude, this isn't about you. None of this is about you." And that was like my first realization where I feel like the switch turned and I'm like, "Wait, like, just as complicated and as difficult as my life is, so is everyone else's."
It's true.
Like I'm just one person of billions, right? Like, and we all have these deeply intricate and complicated lives. I think that, part of self awareness is realizing that it's giving people grace, it's having empathy, it's when you are having a hard time or you are struggling, turning outward. I
Mhm.
think all of those things help you not just live a better life, but live a happier life. You
Yes.
know, and I think it does bleed into like the friendships and the relationships that we've been talking about. Like, I think you definitely have to have a secure sense of self, but it's important that like that's not all that your life is. Like your life is more than just you. It's the other people that you choose to have in it, that interact with you, that want you in their life.
Yeah.
There's so much more to this life than me, 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 which most people at 18 or 19 or when they're younger, that is how we think, because we're kind of raised to think that. I feel, at least in Utah culture, you're kind of raised in some ways to believe that you are the center of the world. You are hot stuff and everyone should care about you and think of you always. But, there's a lot of humility in being like, no, I'm kind of nobody.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I think when you are a teenager, it is really good to think about other people. Um, but you're in a stage of life where you should be thinking about yourself a lot too. Because you're kind of figuring out the path that you want to take. Same with like after your mission. But I think like truly my mission is what changed me. Like I became a much kinder person on my mission than I had been before. Um, not to say that I was like mean or anything, but I just became more sensitive and self-aware. Like I became more aware of other people. Um, but yeah, that time after too, maybe you do need to spend a couple years where you're really focusing on yourself, and that's okay. That's like the perfect time in your life to be focused on how can I better myself. And part of that is becoming like more empathetic, becoming more self-aware, and aware of other people. But you got to figure out your path in life. Because if you're not figuring out where you want to go and you have no plan, that's okay. Like no judgment, but that's important. You know, the direction that you're headed in your life and the course that you set in like your early 20s really is one of the most important decisions that you make in your entire life. So focusing on yourself for a little bit is okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I think that, it's one of the traps that I definitely fell into is I was like, "Oh, I'm young. I can do whatever. I got time." Well, rent is currently due for me. I'm 25, right? I'm struggling in Utah because I'm like, "Okay, I spent my time from 19 to probably 24 is when I started to realize, oh my gosh, I gotta lock in." I'm like, dang, I didn't get married at 19 at BYUI, so I guess I'm cooked. But, I think it is important that you focus, in some ways on your life and building yourself. But, there is definitely like, I'm not going to say that there's a timer. Like, I'm 25, and, by some metrics, people could be like, oh my gosh, you're behind. You're not married. That's just
In
Utah.
Utah. In
Yep,
Utah.
that is literally just Utah. I don't think I'm behind. I think I'm right on track for where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
I've referenced in other videos that we all have different timelines and timetables, and we don't need to get too deep into that. But, something that I wanted to touch on a little bit as well, kind of just while we're in the little faith atmosphere as well. I think like if you're really trying to develop like self-awareness or emotional intelligence, I think like one of the best ways to do that is to try and, build more of a relationship with Christ. I think that in my like faith and life journey, as I've drawn closer to God and as I've drawn closer in my testimony and like understanding of Jesus and the atonement and all of those things, like I've found myself being more compassionate, empathetic, understanding, and aware. I think that, this is just my unk wisdom, but if there's anything that you can do, whether you serve a mission, whether you don't, whether you believe in God, whether you don't, whether you're in our faith or not, is finding some higher belief or power that you believe in. For me, that is this church. I will, to my grave, I will believe and I will be in this church. There's nothing that will ever change that for me. And having that as my rock, and knowing that there's a God that knows me, loves me, and has given me so many life experiences and challenges with purpose has kind of helped me just be more awake. I don't know if that's like the right word, but I feel like if I didn't have a belief in God, then everything's meaningless. Like if what is the point of life if there is no God? If there is no plan of us being here? I think when you have a religious perspective, at least for me, it's helped me exponentially just become a better person, missions and turning outward.
Yes.
I think, and for some people, it doesn't have to be a mission. I know of plenty of amazing people that, aren't of our faith that haven't gone on missions. It's not like you need a belief in God to be a good person. You can be a good person and an atheist. I'm just saying for me, having something more to life than like having some greater purpose or belief, I think helps you develop self-awareness, intelligence. It's when you kind of sit there and you say there is more to this than what it is. Like there's more to this life than we're just here to kind of do whatever. Like there's purpose, there's intention, there's progression. There's all these things. I think that's something that like faith has done for me, and I feel like you referenced earlier with your mission, it's done for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to build like some self-awareness, like find something that is greater than you. Find something that you know is that can build faith or belief in some way. Whether that's God or whether that's something else. I highly recommend.
Yes.
God is awesome. He loves you all. Don't ever forget that. But I think you can also find belief in like purpose in helping other people. Like, in dedicating yourself in something that is bigger than you.
Yeah, and I also think that you can, like, even if you don't believe in God, I think you can still believe that, people have souls and that what you do matters.
Mhm.
Because we're all connected. Like, so sometimes I think we get in this trap of like, what I do only affects me, and it's part of that self-awareness. Like, I think you can recognize that there is, more depth in people than we like to think sometimes. Like, I like to think that maybe, the emotional side of who we are is our soul. Like, we have our brains, we can think through things, we have that logic, but that emotional side, it does feel spiritual to me. Like, we, like, in our faith beliefs, we believe that,
Sorry.
Satan essentially did want full control over us and didn't want us to have agency. because agency is what allows us to progress and grow. And I think without the emotional side, that's kind of where we would be. We would just be logical. We just do the right things because it made sense. Where there's so much emotion inside of us, like such a range of emotion that we can feel. And to me that feels spiritual. That doesn't feel like it could just be like developed, you know. It, I don't know. I don't see us evolving into that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think kind of just like faith, just like it develops and increases your capacity for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I loved that. I loved what you just said. You know, I'm having a brain fart right now. Gosh. I like had something to say and then it's
That's okay. We can just move on to the next question if you want.
yeah. I'll just kind of like I love that. We'll go on.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Honestly, I love that. I think faith is just a big part of life. You know, it's I think in a similar way, I remember now. In the same way that, you know, we're not all like born with like nobody has a higher capacity to feel God than someone else.
Yeah.
You know, in the same way that you can build self-awareness, your relationship with God is the work that you put in.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I love that is referenced in scripture, that is probably one of my favorite phrases throughout the whole Book of Mormon, is his hand was outstretched still. You'll have like this great destruction, this terrible thing that will happen. And in multiple parts of the Book of Mormon, where cities are destroyed, people are killed, all these terrible things happen. And at the end of almost every single one, I've like marked it in my Book of Mormon. And his hand is outstretched still. You know, the capacity and the ability to be self aware, to have a relationship with God, to believe in something more than yourself, all these things, it's there. It's just whether you want to put in the work to have access to it. And in the same way, it also kind of bleeds into our friendship, you know? You are always, I feel like we're always there for each other as friends, but our friendship has lasted because we're both putting in that work to understand each other, to give grace to each other, to let each other, you know, go on our own lives and understand that it's not like you getting married and going off and doing your own thing isn't a personal attack on me, which was something I did have to come to terms with. Okay, you know, full admission, that's why he's laughing. That was something I struggled with. I was like, man, Tanner hates me now. No, he's just married and he has higher priorities than me. But that's part of the friendship. It's the work that you got to put in all things. I think like effort and work and intention is integral to every aspect of your life, be it faith, be it self awareness, be it empathy, whatever it is you're working on. Like, you have to work. You know, I love to say that your life is in your own hands. And if my mom says this as well, it's like, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. At the end of the day, change has to come from you. You know, if you want to be self aware, then you have to make that decision.
Yeah.
You don't just say, oh, I'm self aware. I've always been this way. No, that's not how it works. You know, you might have a higher capacity naturally to be self-aware, but you're not just born with it. You work on it. In the same way with your relationship with God, in the same way with your friendships.
Yeah, and truthfully, I don't feel like I'm very good at it. Like I feel like I have so much more room to grow. Because you know, I do find myself being selfish sometimes and just thinking about myself, and like I feel like that's just part of the struggle of being human. Like we do have to figure out how we can overcome that.
Yeah, it's just giving yourself grace and extending that same grace when you find other people struggling in the same way. Like, man, like I'm not perfect. I'm struggling just like you. So why would I be upset with you for something that I don't even got figured out? You know,
Yeah.
it's awesome. Okay, well, that was a whole awesome segment. We're just gonna do one more question
Okay.
because for time restraints, I don't want you. Tanner plays soccer and he has a soccer game, and I don't want to keep him. His team needs him. They'll probably get blown out without him. So, oh man, deciding between two questions here. I feel like they're kind of similar, but okay. I think this is the one I want to end it on. What is something you wish someone told you earlier in life?
Oof, that's hard. Um, there are a lot of things that I wish I could go back and tell myself specifically. Um, I feel like I would have had a hard time listening to other people
Unless it was you.
unless it was me. Especially like as a teenager. That's when I was really going through it. Like that was probably the hardest time in my life. I guess tied for like pretty much from the time that I was like 14 to 17, I was like really going through it. And I really wish that I could go back and tell myself two. I have to say two things. The first one is that God lives. I needed to tell myself that. And I really wish that I had been able to do that because my entire life would have been different for those 3 years where I was hurting so bad. I felt so lost, so alone. Um, sorry. That's like the biggest thing that could have made a change in my life. And the second thing, I just wish I could go back and tell myself also that even though you're going through these things, like it truly is for your gain. It's for your benefit. What you're going through isn't going to hurt you in the long term. In fact, it's the opposite. There might be some long lasting effects, and that's part of being human too. That's part of learning and growing. But, when you are depressed, you're anxious, you're going through like hell essentially. Like heaven is on the other side. That's that's kind of what you have to remember is like these hard parts, these hard times, like I don't even want to say they're God given because I don't feel like they are, but I find them to be at the same time because they're a blessing. Um, Not everything bad that happens is God given. That I strongly believe, but I do believe that there are things that do truly bless us that maybe God didn't necessarily orchestrate, but he knew that it would be for your benefit, so he let it happen. Um, and that's what I wish I could tell my younger self.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. I have a lot that I want to say on both of those, but the biggest thing is just like, God lives. I think that is something that I think it can benefit everyone is knowing like, hey, like you have a father in heaven that knows you perfectly, that knows you better than you could hope to imagine yourself. I don't know if I just said that right. That knows you better than you could hope to ever know for yourself. That's not
Yeah, he
right.
knows you better than you could ever know yourself.
Yeah. Sorry, sometimes I word salad. But
Good.
no, like I think that there's definitely a lot of peace in that. It's like, hey, like, you know, I do have someone that knows me because he made me. And I think that not giving you pushback, I think that there are some things that we definitely are God given. I definitely agree that not all things are God given. I think here's my take on agency. Because, some people are like, okay, well, God put me through that. Or, God's making me do this or God's making me do that. If God were to force you to do anything, then he would cease to be God. We have the infinite capacity of free will in whatever way we want that to be enacted upon. Like, there's nothing that we can or can't do, you know?
Yeah.
And God doesn't, God may try, in my mind, at least with my life experience, I think sometimes he definitely will be like, hey, like, I want you to grow and become this person. I want you to be this way, or I want you to experience this. But there is no, like, I had an episode with someone else where we talked about this, is there meaning in all things, or do we give meaning to things? I think both exist. I think that, you know, God trusts us. Just as I think just as he perfectly knows us, you got to imagine this truly omnipotent being, all knowing, all understanding, all seeing. There is no ability to comprehend that because we can only comprehend ourselves and our existence. And talking about empathy, no, like God doesn't have, well, God has empathy, but he understands and acknowledges and sees all of us and all of our life circumstances at once. It's I don't know if I'm articulating it right. It's hard to articulate. Like there is a God that is all knowing and all present in all of our lives at the same time. And that is possible. It's crazy. But I think that he knows us all so well that in a way our lives are like perfectly orchestrated for some things to happen. But also he puts things in our path. Like I think we were definitely put in each other's path for a reason. I don't think that that's a coincidence.
No.
I don't think that me picking a random apartment complex off of Facebook Marketplace and you happen to be 2 doors down from me is anything short of the hand of God. I think that, if there are some things in our life that are like, hey, this I'm putting here, this is for you, you're going to learn from this, you're going to grow from this.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that some things, like the fact that we've stayed in each other's lives as long as we have, I think that in some ways the initial purpose of us being in each other's lives might have been fulfilled.
Uh, yeah, I think it was to get us both out of a bad situation.
Yep.
We both, got ourselves into a bad situation and we had to get out. And I think we did a really good job together. And that was the initial purpose. But I do think that there was a purpose greater than that.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it was to help me to become more like emotionally intelligent. To like, I, honestly, I don't think I would be married right now if I hadn't have become your friend. I think I would still kind of be a tool. I'd be thinking about myself more because before that, like my relationships, not that they were like transactional, all of them, but I was so much more worried about myself. Like I became your friend and like I could see that you had my back and that like you wanted to be my friend even when I would kind of truly I didn't really feel like I had anything to give. Like I didn't feel like I was a good friend, but like you were wanting to be my friend anyways. And that's kind of what pushed me to be like, geez, maybe I do kind of suck. Like I need to learn how to understand people better. I need to learn how to, be kinder, to give grace, to be more gentle with people. Because I mean, I don't think I was that nice or gentle with people, and I think I can credit you with some of that. Like, I learned how to because I saw that that was something that you needed, and it was something that I wanted to give to you because I appreciated how much, you wanted to be my friend. So
Thank you, first of all. But no, I think that's again like the beauty of it. Like I think at first, like we had that specific purpose in our lives, but then we've made meaning out of everything after that. Us continuing to be in each other's lives, like I don't think that we're gonna get struck by lightning if we never talked again.
yeah,
But there's so much that I've also benefited from being your friend that, I've had to learn to rein in myself and not be a terrorist to you. Because, I definitely, when Tanner and I first met, like I was all over the place. I definitely still have my moments. But, in the same way that, you kind of were like, hey, I have to be more understanding with this guy and, more kind to him. I also had to realize, man, I think maybe the reason I've struggled with friends my whole life is because I've been a monster in some ways. And being your friend kind of realized, like, okay, this guy's putting in work to be kind to me. I need to be putting in work so that he's not putting me in a straitjacket at some point, like
yeah,
like it went both ways. And I think that was meaning that we gave.
yeah,
I think that us meeting was God given, but I think us learning everything after that specific experience, some of the specific experiences we have, that's been meaning we've given.
yes,
I think kind of pulling back into that, like God trusts us to make meaning out of things in our lives. I don't think he's like, sometimes I think he's up there cooking in the lab, like, oh, this is going to happen and then this is going to happen. Oh, the camera died. Well, we'll just go to the backup.
yep.
Yeah, sorry, the camera actually just died, so we're now on my phone, which, hey, this is the problem solving that I've been telling y'all about. We have had so many problems with stupid audio, visual, all that it is, but this is what we get. Backup setup coming in clutch right now.
I'm glad I told you you need backup video and audio.
Yes, I'm very glad you did as well. But I guess to kind of just wrap this all up, I think that having self-awareness is important. I loved your three principles of it was freedom, integrity, and
Authenticity.
authenticity. Like I loved all those. I think just the whole message of this relating to our friendship is, it's important to have empathy, to have self-awareness. It's important to have, this belief that, there's a God that knows you and loves you, that there are things that we go through in this life, whether it's friendships or experiences that do change us. We all change. We all have different life craziness and intricacies.
Yes.
It's all so beautiful in the end, but I think there is a choice you have to make to work on yourself, to be friends with people, to have that relationship with God, to make your life, I like to say this, to make your life more than it is.
Yeah.
It is a constant choice. It's been a constant choice to be friends sometimes.
Yes.
It's not come easily, but we're here.
Yeah.
We've done the work. We've put in all the efforts that I think any friendship or relationship should. And hopefully through us yapping, y'all have been able to kind of, see some unique perspectives or understand some things. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from Tanner today is, that there's a lot that goes with empathy and understanding. I think that's kind of the cornerstone of our friendship is we've had to be empathetic and understanding towards each other and where we've fallen short, and we've grown as a result. And I think that's where the best friendships and relationships come. But do you have any closing thoughts on that?
Honestly, just just choose to not be an NPC. That's like, if you can take anything, like, NPCs are transactional. That's kind of like something, me and Zach have both played a lot of video games. NPCs are transactional. Choose to be the main character. There was all of like this like main character energy, like kind of a trend on TikTok, like, oh, I'm the main character. Um and I think that kind of got like misconstrued with what being like a genuine like main character is. And that's just making a choice to make choices. Like, don't live your life on autopilot. Be a kind person. Be aware of other people. Be aware of yourself. Be aware of what you're feeling, how that's affecting other people with your actions. Um, yeah, I think, we're probably going to do another episode eventually in the future where
For sure.
we'll probably share just like some of the stupid stories from our friendship, because we have been so stupid together,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we also have so many fun memories. We have like difficult memories. We have, just like stupid memories, and we have really fun memories too. Um, and I think, that would be a good thing to talk about, because it's kind of, I feel like we both have kind of directed each other in the way that we've ended up who we are, where we're at. Because these have been like the most crucial years of our lives, and we've been friends the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
So
Without a doubt. And I think we'll remain friends for many more. But, Tanner, this has been an awesome episode. Thank you so much for yapping with me, for sharing a lot of, the things you've learned, the things that have helped you grow, and just a little bit of who you are. Like, at the end of the day, that's the purpose of this whole podcast. That's the purpose of what I'm doing and what I'm doing. I hope that something we've said has resonated with one of you, or helped you with maybe a friendship that you may be struggling with, or just a place you're at in your life of, man, like, how can I be a better person? Whatever your takeaway is, I hope that you take away something. But I appreciate y'all so much for listening, for being here. Thank you so much, Tanner, for being on.
thanks for having me.
You'll definitely be seeing more of Tanner in the future. But while this episode might be so over, next week and every week after, as always, we will be so very back. My name is Zach Stoffer.
I'm Tanner Egbert.
And we will see y'all next week. Or I will see you next week, I guess. Deuces. That was a good episode, dude.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with that. I'm so glad I recorded extra, bro. Oh my